You're listening to episode 332.
Welcome to Transforming Missions podcast, providing you with insights and resources you need to lead a movement of Jesus followers.
What's the next sermon series? When's the next opportunity for us to work on our goal? What's the next thing you need from me? What's next for the students? Kids ministry? These might be questions that you ask around the church.
Now, when are we next recording the podcast? And who are the Reds playing next? And what's the next opportunity for tacos? Those are questions I've asked Sarah recently.
That last question is the best next question. Tacos are a food of hope. I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm kidding. Okay, seriously, what we were just doing was something that's called Nextng, Nexting.
Now, Nextng is a way of practicing hope. It encourages us to talk about the future. It's a place to explore plans and ideas. Sometimes wonderfully horrible ideas come out of it, and it's a chance to explore another strategy.
Did you hear what Tim just did? When there is an obstacle that emerges, that wonderfully horrible idea, a new pathway is explored. Nexting invites us to dream and to pivot and to plan.
Nexting also invites us to gauge emotions. As leaders, we don't always know what people are thinking or feeling, but let's just say we're talking about the next sermon series, and one of the pathways that emerges involves multimedia and personal testimonies and rearranging the chancel of the sanctuary. And through Nexting, you're gauging people. Are they getting overwhelmed? Is it in their realm of helping you get it done? You're able to tell.
So at that point, an emotionally intelligent leader will explore the pathways, seeking to identify how together you can move forward with less overwhelm. Notice what I did not say. I didn't say you scratch the sermon series or anyone digs in their heels or the phrase that squashes hope in a church gets used. We've always done it that way.
What is it that gives us the ability to practice hope through Nexting?
Our brains.
Something tells me that there's more of an answer than just our brains.
I'm sorry.
Well, you've been around me too long. I get it.
Our imagination and time sensitivity give us the ability to think about time, and this is going to sound funny, but to time travel, to go back and forward in time. It also gives us an advantage over other animals. You can't, for example, ask the dogs in the neighborhood if their Google Calendar is shareable. No, they don't have the ability to time travel. That's what I mean by time travel. Looking forward, looking back. But they might tell you when you've missed taking them for a walk. Now, that's conditioning, not time sensitivity. Humans have the ability to hope, unlike other creatures, including our sweet dogs.
So what you're saying, Sarah, is that what sets us apart as human beings is hope.
Well, that was a short episode. Yes, that is what sets humans apart. So the next time someone asks you what sets humans apart, don't go with the normal opposable thumbs answer. Go with hope.
We build hope from memories. So to imagine mission-focused leaders, a church filled with disciples making disciples, a church connected to the community, we need stories and experiences that help us begin to see a way forward. I can go several places here, Sarah, but I think I want to keep moving on. What do you have to say next?
Okay. So our ability to imagine depends on our ability to remember. The stories of the leaders we've served alongside, the effective church focused on mission and actively engaging in disciple making, the church connected to the community, Whether those things are positive or negative, memories help us to think about the future with hope because they help us to imagine.
So when we anticipate a new situation or are faced with a challenge, we look to our memories for guidelines on how to proceed. Then we practice how we'll face the challenges and the threats that are emerging.
You've got it, and you also now know why I said our brains are what help us to hope. And can I just say that the human brain is really cool because in another part of our brain, as soon as we start creating those images, and this is something that happens automatically in our brains as humans, there's another part of the brain that's tracking down how important or meaningful each one of those mental images might be. How much do they matter to you in the moment?
So, Sarah, what I'm thinking is that as leaders, we could get mixed reaction from the people around us. We've created an image that excites us, and there's nothing firing upstairs for them.
Right. And it could also be a very different image that is emerging that's spurring you on to hope, but for them, it's igniting fear.
So let's go back to what you mentioned about the brain helping us to evaluate the importance of the story or image that we're talking about. What helps us decide? What helps us take action?
So another part of the brain, are you sensing a theme here? That converts that vision into reality.
So, Sarah, here's where I am right now. Is that part missing from some people? So let me say this, Sarah. As much fun as we might have with it, it really doesn't take an advanced degree.
No, and I'm sorry.
It's just being human.
I'm sorry that hit me funny because, well, there are some situations and people who default to the part of the brain associated with negative outlook and behaviors. Hopeful vision literally is formed in a specific part of our brain. Right here, 1 inch above your left eyebrow. It's in the left prefrontal cortex.
Okay, now you're leaving me behind.
We're not doing brain surgery. Promise.
Seriously, it's amazing that there's a specific part of the brain that we all have research that connects us to putting hope into action. Prospecting, thinking and planning for the future, taking that vision and making it a plan along the pathway is hardwired into us. So I just need to say, the last episode we talked about the hope cycle, and here we're saying we're made for that cycle.
Right there. You can't see me, our listeners, but I'm pointing to 1 inch above my left eyebrow. We attach ourselves to the future through a goal that matters to us, right there. From there, the brain sends messages to another part of the brain that causes us to experience positive feelings that move us into action and help us to make a commitment to the future and to reach out to others for more resources and support.
So practicing hope through nexting and prospecting isn't just an individual experience or exercise. It's one of the ways we create family, we create community, church, society. Sarah, can we go as far as to say hope is contagious?
I think so. As humans, we connect with other humans, and think about when you're around someone who is angry or sad or indifferent. I mean, even if I make an angry face at you, without it's hard for me to make an angry face right now, without saying a word, in that person's presence, your mood shifts, right? Your mood shifts in response to them because you're wondering what's going on and do I need to protect myself? Do I need to respond in a different way? But when we're in sync, we're engaged, when we feel safe, we also feel good or positive. And the reason that we want to spend time with hopeful people is because being around them makes us more energized and more hopeful.
Yeah, people follow others with big goals and high hope. So that's one of the things followers look for in their leaders.
Yes.
All of that's possible because we're hardwired for hope, and hope is contagious. I keep liking to say that. We're hardwired and it's contagious. I like that.
Hope is contagious. And we're not talking about hope and how we're hardwired for hope because we want or need to have a conversation about the brain. We're talking about it and sharing about hope because hope matters. Hope propels us to action and it unites people around a common vision. It's that beautiful dance that you mentioned in our last episode where our thoughts and our feelings are doing a dance and guiding us towards hope. As leaders, we can guide people toward experiencing hope when we help people connect the current reality with an idea or a vision of where we're heading. We're inviting people to build those pathways to claim the agency and ultimately to hope.
Sarah, what I'm thinking here, you've got me thinking about a whole lot of things, but I'm thinking about how strategic pathways and helping people have agency in leadership activates the parts of the brain that we've been talking about. And to do that, we are literally helping people experience hope. That's not wishful thinking. That's reality.
Yes. Yeah. And you do this naturally, Tim. When you free people up to take on a task, you've talked about what is happening. It can be something as simple, because this is the season. You're stepping out of this role, so you can celebrate when I say this. One-to-ones. You free the people up around you to care for how it needs to happen in terms of making those appointments, right? You're not caught up in the details, but they're a part of making a goal happen. In a very small way, again, silly example, in a very small way, that's an experience of hope. Because there was a goal, there was a path that was taken to get there, and people had agency to experience it. And so every time any of us have something that we are working towards, and we claim the agency and follow that pathway to get there, we have an experience of hope. And hope begets hope. When we experience that hope, I mean, even as we have these conversations, I can tell for myself, maybe it's the Advil that I just took, but I don't think it is. I can tell that there is something different about the way that I feel, even having a conversation about hope. Because again, we're hardwired for it. When we have those experiences of hope, it multiplies and we want more of it, and it triggers something in us. I don't know all the chemicals, not going to go there, to experience that hope so that more hope can happen. Think about people that you have encountered who have a health crisis, and the difference of someone who is saying, I've got 17 radiation treatments ahead of me. I have no idea how I'm going to make it through these. Versus someone saying, there are 17 radiation treatments. I've got a wonderful family around me. We'll take them one at a time and day by day. And that's all I can do is experience each day that I have to get to the end of that treatment. And I look forward to ringing the bell at the treatment center and being done with it so that we can move on to the next phase of our life together. Two completely different experiences. Who do you think, and this is not just Sarah making this up, like they've literally researched hope around people with health crises like this. Who do you think had an easier time with the radiation treatment? There's nothing easy about radiation treatment, hear me. But the person who had hope navigated it with fewer complications than the person who didn't. Hope matters. That's why we're talking about hope.
Yeah, you have me thinking now about the church and how the church offers hope to a community. I think sometimes we limit ourselves to thinking that we have to offer hope to one another in the church, and rightly so. But I'm thinking about offering hope to a community that it really matters where you start. Oh, I haven't said that for a while. But an example I ran across recently, I just had one of my professors in seminary just died. He was a professor of theology. I remember being in a class with him, and he was talking about practical applications of theology. So it must have been a practical theology class. I don't remember. But this was a time when Campus Crusade was at its height. And so we're talking about it in seminary classes we're talking about relationships, and here are people on campuses just, as we called it, buttonholing people and helping them make decisions. And you can tell that I wasn't too keen on it. So somebody asked Dr. Lowe about that, assuming, because he had talked a lot about relationship and living this Christian faith at the moment in the best way that needed to be lived. And so our assumptions were that when you bring up somebody like Campus Crusade, that he would have something to say about it that would be something we could put in our arsenal. But he actually offered us a word of hope. And what he said was, I really love these people on these college campuses. And everybody's real quiet. He said, how can you not love people who are trying to invite other people to follow Jesus? Now, where we were starting, we as students, where we were starting was Campus Crusade's not very important. And where he was starting was Jesus.
Matters where you start.
Matters where you start. And that's part of what I'm hearing you say with Nextng, because the next thing I want to say is that when we celebrate Holy Communion, who are we remembering? Jesus. And if we are followers of Jesus, then we have something to offer a community when things are falling apart or it's not going well. We can step in and, with that love of God that we know in Jesus, offer something that might change their brains, that gives them something to hold on to that they weren't expecting to hold on to, because we're starting at a different place than they're starting. You've created a lot of thought for me, so hopefully my words made some sense.
They sure did. Thank you for that, Tim, and thank you for listening. As we continue this journey of hope together, may you pay attention to the stories, the big goals, the high hopes, and what's attracting you and what's turning you away. Hope is contagious. As a reminder, you can find show notes for this episode at transformingmission.org/332. And remember, who you are is how you lead. Are you a person of hope? So let it be.